minus, and then we're going to put 2.1 squared. Okay? Alright. Still have to follow the order of operations, right? Every step is its own order of operations. So first thing we have to do is to work. We have multiplication, we got subtraction, we got exponents, right? What do we do first? Exponents. So up to the side, we multiply 2.1 times 2.1, right? So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and so we get 441, and we move that decimal point how many places? 2. 1, 2 places. So that gives us 4.41. Okay, so we go back to our steps. So we've got 5.04 times 4 minus, and we put in here our 4.41. Okay. Now we go back to our order of operations again, right? Look at our order of operations, right? We're going to subtract or we're going to multiply next? Multiply. You want to go back, you want to refer back to the order of operations on every step, because in these order of operation problems, it's really easy. Remember that snowplow example I told you, I was telling you about? It's really easy for people who want to do something else besides that. And it's a common error to do that, but we want to multiply next, right? So off to the side, we got 5.04 times 4. So that'll be 4 times 4 is 16, carry the 1, 4 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 4 times 5 is 20. And our decimal point is going to be at 2 places, right? So that's 20.16, right? So we go back to our steps. 20.16 minus 4.41. Now we can subtract, right? So here's our 20.16 minus. And where are we gonna? What do we gotta watch out for? Line up the decimal point. 4.41. Okay, you gotta be really careful, because you know, if I were to write fast, I could have easily put the 4 under the 6, because I kind of squeezed them in a little bit. So you gotta be careful with your lineup, right? Okay, so lining up your numbers. So here we got 6 minus 1 is 5, but we have to borrow, right? We can't borrow from the 0, so we have to borrow from the 2, make that a 1. Well, that means that's going to be a 9 and then 10, right? Or in this case, 11. Okay, now we can go ahead and continue. 11 minus 4 is 7. Decimal point. 9 minus 4 is 5. And then 1. Okay, so thing you've got to be careful with is, remember over here, these last two steps, we multiplied and we had to move that decimal point over. Well, what did we do on that last step? We subtracted, right? So when we subtract, we bring that decimal down. So the problem with working order of operations problems where you have several steps is that people get into this, you get into like a paradigm where you're thinking one way and then you get stuck. It's like people get stuck with that, and then they're looking at it, and now all of a sudden they're still thinking about the multiplication instead of subtraction. Okay? So you have to take that extra second to think about, okay, what am I doing? I'm not multiplying anymore, I'm subtracting. With subtraction, just bring the decimal down. Okay? And that's where people make their mistakes with these order of operations, is because they're thinking multiplication and now they're subtracting, but they're still thinking part of the way with multiplication. You know what I mean? You have to take that step, that second, to differentiate between the two operations and what you're doing. Okay? And it just takes practice to get fast at it. And you don't want to be fast, you want to be right. So you want to, take that, take your time with these and make sure that what you're doing is working it out correctly. Okay, any questions with that? Alright. Okay, now this one seems harmless enough. 7 and then parentheses, 6.32 minus 5. Looks harmless enough, but order of operations tells us that we want to do what first? Parentheses. Some people have the bad habit of distributing. Don't do it, because you're going to end up with it's going to come out wrong sooner or later. We know we have to simplify the parentheses, right? So off to the side, take 6.32 minus 5. And again, we have to be careful with what? Placement, right? Because the 5, you don't have a decimal point, but it's implied that it's after that 5, right? And you don't have to put zeros, but maybe kind of nice to convenient to do that. So now we're going to get 2 minus 0 is 2, 3 minus 0 is 3, decimal point. 6 minus 5 is 1. So now we have 7 times 1.32, right? So here's 1.32 times 7. Okay, so now we have sometimes 2, that's 14. Here the 1, sometimes 3 is 21, 22. Here the 2 is 7 times 1 is 7, 8, 9. So what's our answer here?
You gotta move the decimal.
Move the decimal. How many places? 2 places, right? 1, 2. So that's going to make a 9.24. See, so again, first step, we're subtracting. Second step, we're not subtracting, we're doing multiplication. So the decimal, you work the decimals differently between the two operations, right? So our answer is 9.24.